Now, to do that, we're going to go in and we're going to edit the properties of this target. And so first thing we'll do is we'll change the identifier to be something, vaguely correct. We'll do com.cpine.QuickLook generator. And then down into the document types, we'll get rid of the entry that's already there, and we're going to add a brand new one. And what we're going to do, we'll give a little description. And then we're going to fill in the exact same UTI type that we gave for the file, the com.cpine.solobug, and the extension, the SBG, here. So now our plugin is going to match what we've defined in the main application. One other thing we do, we'll edit the plist directly, and we're going to change one setting in here. Do a search for it for the correct place, the CF bundle type role, and we'll switch that from editor to QL generator, QuickLook generator. So now OS X will understand what this library really is. So we've got all that saved. Build and go again. Again, we're not seeing anything special, but that's okay. We haven't written the render code yet. But if we go and we look in the console, now we'll find out that both of our spots that were sort of undefined now have an entry in them. So if we look at our UTI, again, we have com.cpine.solobug. And then if we look at the generator that's used, we'll see the full path to our bundle that we're building right now, or our plugin. So, all right, now it's time to write some code. First thing we're going to do, I'm not sure why it did this, but when I created the project, it had them as straight C files, which is fine. We can do it that way, but I just as soon use the Objective-C stuff for them. So we'll change the file extension and type to .m so that it's Objective-C. We'll do that for both of them. There's two files that it creates. There's a generate preview file and a generate thumbnail file. The thumbnail is used for things like cover flow, so you can see the rendering in there. As you can see here, there's just one method. It's generate thumbnail for the URL that's passed in. In this particular demo, we're going to skip this. I'm not particularly interested in rendering this kind of stuff for cover flow. What we'll do is we'll do the preview, which is the true QuickLook. That's the one that's a little bit more interesting. And again, it just is one method that we'll have to define and fill in. We have a few options here. It's a lot of times, if you have a JPEG or a movie or something, you're going to be writing something directly to the graphic context. You could also do sort of multi-page PDFs, but what we're going to do is we're going to render HTML in the QuickLook. It's because we're dealing with text data that's in the Solobug, so that makes sense. It's also pretty easy to wrap your head around. HTML is pretty straightforward. So first thing we'll do is we'll add the Cocoa header so that we can use some of the nice, NS string and all that kind of business. And then the thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to define an external method that I'm going to pull in here in just a minute. The Solobug file format is proprietary information, so I didn't want to necessarily have the code for that just right here in the demo. I also ended up rewriting it in Objective-C just because it was a lot easier than to pull in the existing stuff. So I'll copy and paste in the code that I did earlier. Just have an auto release spool, standard stuff. NSString HTML is where we're getting the result of my extern function, and that'll be the HTML we render. And then we have a mutable dictionary with a bunch of settings that we have to set, the height, width, UTF-8, that it's HTML, that kind of business. And then we end up passing all of this stuff into the preview request set data representation method. And that's the guy that actually does all the work. But all we're really sending him is an HTML string. We then release our pool, the cleanup, all that good stuff. And then we'll be done. So we'll save file. And like I said, I have this extern function that I wrote, so I'll just pull in the file that's got him in it. For your own purposes, you can have it set up any way you want. You can use your existing code, which would probably be a good idea. Things are consistent. In this case, it was just quicker for me. I have a compile error because you can add a Cocoa header, but without adding the Cocoa framework, it's going to complain about it. So we need to add that so that everything links correctly. We'll just browse to it. And then build and go again. And then there we go. We've rendered the data from inside the Solobook file. You'll see that it's all the same that we saw earlier. It's not the prettiest HTML in the world, but it's also something I did in a couple hours sitting on my couch while I was watching TV. So we could make it a lot nicer. And that's basically it. That's what you have to do. So there's a couple sort of manual hip-hop steps that you have to jump through to get the debugging set up right and that kind of thing. But the actual code that you write, pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do. One thing I should mention before we leave is that I also discovered that you cannot use garbage collection when writing a QuickLook plugin, which is really a shame. I mean, I understand why it happens that way, but it won't even load correctly. You'll get a garbage collection mismatch or type mismatch error with the Finder, just because it's just a lot nicer than having to muck around with the retains releases and the auto release stuff. So no garbage collection for this. I will put this is the website address for my blog at CPine. I will have the full res copy of this video up there in case you're watching this on YouTube and it gets a little hard to read. But I hope that you've enjoyed it and that it's been helpful. Thanks a lot.